teaching voice.
Before we, I don't think any of us are going to use a microphone. Can everybody hear? Even with the masks? Good deal. Okay. Before we get started, I want to take a quick moment, and I want you to turn and look at that gentleman in the corner and thank him for the cookies and water. If you don't know, that's Dr. Richard Seymour. He is the Department Chairperson for Educational Studies, which is the department all of us are out of. Okay. So welcome to the orientation to field experiences for our participation classes. We're very excited to share this information with you. I am going to push my feet. So it goes forward. Yep. There we go. So to start, what I would like to do is I would like to introduce to you the Dean of Teachers College. And I've practiced this all day. Dr. Anand Maury. Maury?
Anand.
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 Anand. That's not how I was told to say it.
I
I believe he knows. I would like to introduce the Dean, and he is going to talk to you for a little bit.
Thank you. Rich is also my boss because he's the department chair of my department. But so thank you, and first of all, I want to congratulate you on making a great choice to be a teacher. I am a former high school social studies teacher. I used to teach in ESL classes, regular classes, and AP classes in San Jose, California. And so I used to teach U.S. history, world history, economics, government, all that good stuff. That was the hardest job I've ever had, but also the most rewarding job I've ever had. So everything else after that is gravy. It's nothing compared to what you guys are going to be doing in the classroom. So keep up all I'm going to say is that they're kids, and keep that in mind when you're in the classroom. You guys are making a great choice, and the amount of lives you're going to touch are unbelievable. I still keep in touch with kids I used to teach back in the mid-90s. That was before you were born. But those were kids that I still keep in touch with, so that's one thing. Second is, and thank you for being part of Ball State and taking classes at Teachers College and so forth. Our mission at Ball State and Teachers College are two things. One is equity, and you guys are providing resources and services to kids that may never get that opportunity elsewhere. We live in one of the poorest states in the country. We're the 35th in terms of per capita in this country. But the fact that you're choosing to go out there and help improve the schools K through 12 level is really important. And so we're going to give resources to kids that may never get it elsewhere. So thank you for doing that. Some people are born on third base, and some people never get to bat. What you're making you're making them be able to get and be in the game. So thank you for doing that. The second part of our work is excellence, right? We are the best school of education in Indiana. And we service all parts of the state. We turn out more principals, superintendents, and so forth than anywhere else. And so you should give yourselves a hand for making that good choice. So, based on those two missions, I think you should really be proud of what you're doing, and to know that you have all the resources of Otis back there, the Department of Educational Studies, all of Teachers College to help you support you on your journey. So the first couple of weeks, first semester or so, it's going to be tough. There's no question about it. But you know what? It is something that you will be so tired on Fridays, because I remember my friends who start jobs outside of education, Friday night they'd be like, let's go out. I'm like, I just want to go to sleep. And for me, the worst part, I don't know how you're going to handle this, but for me, the worst part was I was teaching in California Sundays, and I used to watch football. In California, the games are done by 6 p.m. So the dread of the Monday morning, lesson plans, grading, and so forth. I still have pits on Sunday nights now, 25 years later. But I hope you can master that, and you can give me a tip on how to master that, getting over that, let me know. But just let me know we support you. You can reach out to me anytime you need resources, any guidance, or any questions you might have. And thank you again, and good luck. on about that.
Okay, make sure she has her cookie. Okay, moving forward, the practicum faculty. So this is part of the housekeeping to a certain extent. So I'm going to move it over a little bit so you can see everybody. We gave you a piece of paper and two things for that piece of paper. One, because we need to make sure that we get you out of here on time, if not a little before, because we know we're bumping up against
Free ice cream.
yeah, that too, the 5 o'clock ice cream social out the door, but we're bumping up against classes that people have in the evenings, jobs, other things. So we appreciate your time, we want to be sensitive to it, we want to get you out as soon as we can once we've given you all this important information. So what we're going to ask you to do is as we go through this presentation, if you have any questions, write them on a piece of paper. There's a basket out on the table you signed in on. Just leave it in the basket. I'm going to compile it all. I'll share it with my 380, 385 colleagues, and we will all answer any questions on Monday that are left over, okay? If it's something very specific to you and your situation, like you're concerned about location or something like that, hold those questions and speak to your specific professor, because we're all placing in different places, okay? The second use of that paper is the contest. So there are 4 of us up here. I'm Dr. Kathy Siebert. I'm the coordinator for 380, 385. I've been doing this for too long time. Dr. Eric Schaefer.
What's up?
Is also, we're all 380, 385 faculty. Krista Hancock is our secondary education coordinator, as well as the person you went through to get registered into the class, to get permission, okay? And then Stacy England is teaching a section of 380 for us this semester for the first time. So each of us came up with an image that reflected something about us, and they're not in the order of the names. So the contest is to match the image to the name. And write that on your piece of paper, throw it in the basket on your way out, and you'll be entered in the contest to win swag. And remember, we're just teacher educators, so no laptops, no tablets, no cars.
It's
It's
a
on
China
insulated mugs.
proof, like, yes, newcomer.
So it's Stacy England, Preston Hancock, Eric Schaefer, Kathy Siebert, and images 1 through 4.
You've had me before, and you missed my image.
Yeah, you know, some of the people from last year have kind of an advantage, because they had some of us before. I didn't necessarily say you had to get them all right to get into the contest. Do your best.
I'm wearing 440 cards, Kathy.
Okay, noise level is starting to go up, so I'm beginning to think that people are ready to move on. Are you like phoning friends? And phone friends. Doing Google searches? The answers to this will be shared tomorrow too in class. Okay? Ready to go on? All right, then Mrs. England, if you would tell them why we have this included.
Okay. So I'm Stacy England. I've taught 30 years in the state of Indiana. Approximately 15 of them at middle school level, 15 at high school, and born and raised in Elwood. And I came here for my undergrad and my grad. And I retired last year. So I came across this illusion. I shared it with Kathy, and I thought about it. And we know we've seen icebergs in movies, of course, and maybe some of you real life or pictures. And what does it take for an iceberg to be where it's at? Well, it takes a lot. It's a big chunk of ice out in the water. Sometimes an illusion. So underneath, all the things that you see here helps make it successful. And that does that in your life as well, regardless whether we're talking about our class or other classes or your life in general. So persistence, having that definitely helps. You're going to have failures that will hopefully turn into successes. Your sacrifice, just like now giving up some of your time, you'll be giving up a lot of time when you do your student teaching, just to make it what you want. Disappointments, you will have those, but they will help pave your way to success. Okay, then we have discipline. Being on time, you know, the tardies, absences, both in our classes and when you do your participation. Those teachers, you know, expect you to be there, so please be there. Your hard work and your dedication, people don't see all that time that you give, but that's what it takes to have the success at the top. So I wanted to point that out to you. That will get you far, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then Krista, talking about placements.
Hey,
You started a cult. How'd you-
hold the applause, hold the applause. No, okay. All right.
How much did
So-
you pay them?
Yeah, a new car. It's amazing. So I am super excited. I've already been in contact with a lot of my former teachers at Muncie Central, at Southside Middle School, and they cannot wait to have you back into the classrooms. What you bring into the classrooms with you as practicum students, it just goes without saying. You are going to bring in all kinds of new ideas, enthusiasm, excitement. So I'm super excited to be introducing you, if you will, to the field experience. I'm glad it's back. Yes, we have challenges that have faced us. For instance, take a look around. All of you need to be placed in a middle school and or high school. Some of you are in the same content areas and have the same 2 blocks in a day or 2-hour block in a day that can be out in the schools. So we have faced some challenges when we're looking at which schools that we're going to get you into. But a couple things that I can assure you when we sat down and started to make these placements is we are trying our absolute best to ensure that you will be within your content areas. So my goal is to, of course, is always 100%. And right now I think we're batting at about 99.8% perhaps of those of you who will actually be in theater classrooms, English language arts classrooms, your world language classrooms, so on and so forth, teaching students the content that you love to teach. So that's our #1 goal, but I do want you to understand that as we're doing that, there are a few things along the way, little road bumps, road blocks, if you will, that we're working our way around. So please be patient with us as you begin to get your placements and understanding that these are some of the things that we're working with as we're getting you out into the field, right? Hopefully, we should have these placements to you sooner rather than later, because I always like to give you the opportunity to get in contact with your cooperating teacher and start having those conversations. What will I be teaching when I get in there? What topic are you currently discussing in class? Who are your students? How can I get to know my students better before I start on the first day with you? Those kinds of things. So those are some of the things that I want you to look forward to and think about over the next few days. I don't remember what's next. I'm going to be honest.
How they're decided.
Oh, sure. How are your placements? Thank you. How are our placements decided? So I mentioned we sat down last week. We spent about 5 hours. It was kind of like fantasy football, only better.
I mean, it's only 2 weeks.
Because what's that?
It was like 2 weeks. It wasn't just last week. Just saying.
We sat down and we started to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So who needs a middle school placement? Who needs a high school placement? We had your course schedules in front of us. Now I know for some of you those have changed, so that may be something that we need to go back and adjust, but we did take a look to ensure that we aren't bumping up against any of your other classes. So as an example, if you are placed at Anderson High School or Highland Middle School, we want to make sure that you also have enough time to get back on campus before your next class, those types of things. So as we were sitting down making these placements, like I said, first we're thinking about content,
placing you with experienced teachers who are very excited about the profession and have a, I'll steal from Otis here, a mindset to mentor. They want you there and they want you to learn from them, but they also want to learn from you. So those are our main goals when we're looking at how we place you. I understand that we also have things like certain subject areas where we may have a large number of teachers that we need to place. We may have certain subject areas where there aren't a lot of those courses offered in Delaware or Madison County. So those are the few of the things that we'll kind of take control of, if you will, on a one-to-one basis. So as we start getting our placements back and thinking about how things may need to be tweaked. So just kind of keep that in mind. Line?
Next slide.
I was just going to say, emphasize that most placements are going to fall during your scheduled class time. That was also at the top of our priority list as much as possible. And I think we're at probably about 99% of that happening.
So I think the biggest thing I'd like you to keep in mind as you're venturing out into, again, Delaware County, perhaps Madison County, so on and so forth, is that you are not only representing Ball State, you're not only representing the people up here and that have talked to you today, but more importantly, you're representing yourselves as future educators. So I always like to tell the story when I student taught at Muncie Central, and it just so happened that the assistant principal at the time ended up getting a principal position at Muncie Southside, and she called me. She was like, "You did a nice job student teaching. We have a biology position open. Can I give you the job?" And I said, "Can I think about it?" No, I'm just kidding. I said, "Absolutely, I'll take the job." All right? So you never know. You may not end up wanting to teach where your placement, but you don't know if that teacher may move to a different school or if that principal may wind up someplace else. So you are representing yourself as a future educator when you go out into these schools. All right? So it's very, very important to put on your professional pants, leggings, skirt, whatever it is that you happen to be wearing, and thinking about how you're representing yourself when you get out into the schools. Right? I've worked with enough of you to know, makes me very excited that you're going out and that you'll be representing me, because I know how great of a job you're all going to do. Or most of you. Some of you I don't know, but I'm going to take it from these that you're doing great as well. Okay? I did mention to those students that I have this semester, when they introduced the new faculty members at Burris this year, 3 of them are my former practicum students. And I think they only had 3 new hires, and all 3 of them are my former practicum students. So we're starting getting the ball. It wasn't just because, yes, it was. Yeah. So please consider the message that you're sending, the conversations that you're hearing in the hallways. If they're not conversations that you think a professional educator should be having, how can we steer those conversations in a different direction? We're proud of what we do, and I want that message to continue as we go out into the schools. Let your students know how proud you are to be future educators, current educators, and how proud we are of you for doing those things. Absolutely. Okay, this is, I think, yeah. So we are working on, among other things, a new digitized handbook that will go out to all of your cooperating teachers while you're out in the field during practicum. So any of the pieces of evaluation rubrics that will be used while you're out in the field, all of those assignments we've been talking to you about that you'll be doing while you're out in the field, interesting bits of information, if you will, about the practicum courses will all be located in this handbook and will be easy to access for everyone. So I think this is a new feature, new and improved feature that we have for our practicum courses that we are very excited about, because everything will kind of be here in one place that we can take a look at. We can refamiliarize ourselves with what the expectations and procedures, but then your cooperating teachers, principals, so on and so forth will have that information as well.
So the audience, there's 2 audiences for it, cooperating teachers and you. So there's a section addressed to the participants as well. And that should be, it will be ready when you go in the field. we'll be ready to distribute it. I was gonna say hot off the presses, but we're not printing anything these days, so.
Cool.
Okay?
Any questions about anything so far? That was a trick. You're supposed to write it down on your paper. Good job.
All right, Garrett, you're up.
Thank you. Cool. I can play back up now a little bit. Here we go. All right. So again, I want to really reiterate that this is like the fact that we are going to the schools. That's a privilege. It's not a right. Okay. And the fact that we are going out into these schools, these principals, like Principal Finney Pickett, we talked about in a little bit, are inviting us in. All right. Those are their homes. They are letting us in. Please remember that. All right. In addition to anybody, us, your other practicum teachers, everybody else will tell you that, again, it's a privilege, not a right to go in there, and when you go, we want you to succeed the best way possible, okay? And to do that, there's some things that you really got to hammer home, all right? I will tell you all right now, I am not a morning person, all right? The day should not begin before 11:30. Come at me, I will fight you, all right? All right? So that doesn't change the fact that when I went and worked at Ben Davis, I had to be at school at 7:10 every day. So we're talking, my wife had to literally probably pop firecrackers by my head to wake me up. But you gotta be up, you gotta be on time, all right? So when you get to the field, particularly from the fact that some of y'all are going to one block, some of you are going to a couple periods, please show up on time, all right? And we wanna go to the football terminology, you're not on time unless you're 15 minutes early, or whatever other sport you played, your coaches say that stuff. Please show up and be on time. That's the bare minimum of what we expect you to do, all right? On top of that too, when you get into the field, guys, we just want you to really be smart, exercise good judgment, all right? What we mean by that is if something pops up that, if a student says, hey, I need a ride home, will you give me a ride home? Don't do that, all right? Additionally too, if a student starts talking to you about something that you think is inappropriate, or even a host teacher starts talking to you about something that's inappropriate, don't do that, all right? Be intelligent here, all right? So practice that critical professionalism that we really want you to see, all right? And if something pops up that you're uncomfortable about, please, I want to jump to that communication piece. You communicate with us right away. We have pulled people from placements because of host teachers not doing stuff okay, right? We had one host teacher, I think 2 years ago at Southside, that immediately treated her student teacher like her best friend and started talking about deeply personal parts of her life that you shouldn't talk about with a student teacher, okay? If you're uncomfortable, if that stuff's happening, communicate with us right away so we can get you into a new placement, all right? I mean that. Talk with us. And in terms of communication as well, if you are sick, if something pops up, your first phone calls to your host teacher, your second phone calls to us, or shoot us an email, all right? Please don't, the biggest thing you can do, particularly when you're in the field, we're not going to see you for chunks of time. Do not end that communication with us. We need to hear from you. Please, please, please email us. And I think all of us have given you our personal cell phone numbers, right? There's no excuse to not get in touch with us if something pops up, okay? On top of that, when you're in the classroom, a big part of this is confidentiality. How many of y'all have heard of like FERPA? You guys know FERPA a little bit? Good. So some of the stuff, I know in my class, I'm having you look at IEPs, all right, when you get to the field. That's protected information. So if you ever copy an IEP and you take it out of that school and it gets in the wild and has kids' info on it, that's a huge deal, all right? So when you don't, to the top of that too, don't film, all right? We don't have waivers from all the students. We don't have waivers from the teachers. Do not release that stuff on the internet. If you want to take photos, I mean, again, I wouldn't take them in class, that's fine, but if you want to take a selfie, that's cool, no kids in it, all right? Be smart. We can't, I mean, those are just legal things. And talking about legal things too, what it says here that's required to report procedures. First, if a kid comes up and says something's going on at home in terms of abuse or violence, first and foremost, you've been doing something right because that kid feels comfortable enough to come talk to you about it, all right? They may not talk about it with anybody else, but we are required by law, even though you guys do not have your license yet, to report that, all right? So if a kid does that, you immediately go to your host teacher. The host teacher will then get in contact with the principal and get that ball rolling, okay? So those are things that you need to understand. When you're in the field, you have to report that stuff legally. That's not on you. That's legitimate law, all right? Then the other start too, we're talking about just being ready to go. So do a dry run before you go the first day, okay? Some of you aren't going to be at Muncie Central if you're doing 380 class. Some of you have to go to Delta, Cowan, Yorktown. Do not wait day of to go. All right, do a dry run, like get in the car, go to Starbucks, drop $5 on a really expensive sugary drink that you wouldn't normally drink. Make a day out of it, okay? But go out there, check it out, because some districts may also they want you to come out maybe a day before to go through a tour. That's up to the different districts. But don't do a dry one-day run, all right? Let's do professionalism. If you get sick, and I'm the one that used to talk about COVID, I see what you guys did. You threw me under the bus here. You get all the fun stuff, all right?
Hold on to the COVID, that's 2 slides up.
Oh, I know. That's
Okay.
knowledge
Well,
in my
that's the
slides,
PowerPoint.
Kristen.
Wait, can you go to the next slide, because it's not the COVID.
Oh, no, it's 3 from now.
Knowledge is
It's
your
3.
slide.
Oh, I know.
We'll save this for later.
So, if you miss a day in the field, like I talked about, you're going to have to make it up, all right? You do not have to, again, that's going to be between you and your host teacher. You have to get a certain number of hours in, right? So, basically, it's 1 block or 2 periods a day. So, if you need to maybe hey, my schedule opens up, is it cool if I see, instead of just being here 1, 2, I'm here 3, 4 this day? Or if I come back during break, like when we were doing finals and we're out of the field, if you want to go back, the teacher's cool with that, clear that with your host teacher, you have to make those hours up. Practicum is pass-fail, all right? If you do not get your hours in, you fail automatically. Do not do that, all right? Cool, next slide. Where I start talking about more fun stuff, all right? So, when you teach, please take advantage of this, all right? There's a ton of research out there, and they say that, the more you start teaching and get in front of this stuff, the more comfortable you're going to be when you do your student teaching, right? Which for most of you is, 5 months away? If we really want to condense that down? Spooky number, all right? So, when you're in the field, we want you to co-teach, all right? And there's a bunch of different ways that we can talk about co-teaching. There's a bunch of models of co-teaching. But the first week there, we want you in, just get to know your kids, see what's up, see what your teacher wants you to do. If from day one your teacher's comfortable with hey, will you run this small group for me? Do that. If they just want you to sit for a couple days and get to know students' names and maybe return papers, do that, all right? But do not be a wallflower, all right? You guys are going to be in the field for 8 weeks. That's a ton of time. And I love this new model because normally, the 4-week model, the way we used to do it, you were parachuting in, you barely got to know the kids, and you were gone immediately, right? Those kids look for you. Those kids love you. They keep asking to see you again, all right? So for 8 weeks, you can really get to know these kids and build a relationship, which I love, all right? So, don't be a wallflower. Hopefully, by the second time we're out in the field after the first 3 weeks, you are teaching, all right? Minimum expectation, I think, is 3 lessons of teaching?
1.
1?
1 or 2 connected lessons during the second rotation.
I lied. All
You
right?
did.
So, it's
3
1
and 5
lesson.
and 3.
Minimum is 1, but we want you to teach 3, 4, 5. We want you to teach as much as possible, right? And again, do not feel weird about teaching in front of your peers here. This is the place for you to try something new and make a mistake. That's fine. We can help, right? It's when you go out in the field. Don't feel confident about that because stuff will change on a dime, all right? The more you teach, the more confident you will be, the better you will do in your student teaching, all right? So ask for those opportunities to teach. Additionally, too, we've always had questions around hair, eyeliner, makeup, stuff like that. Business professional / casual. My go-to, I was always told, polo and khakis, button down and khakis. Ladies, what in terms of, is it just I have no idea for women's dress code. What's that in terms of?
Well, no, I want to hear your ideas about women's dress codes.
That is one of the things I would ask you to communicate with your cooperating teacher. What is the dress code for teachers within the school you'll be placed? I think that's the best way to handle that.
Yeah, normally don't do jeans, all right? If they do a jeans Friday, I know we used to do a March of Dimes thing, any teacher that put in $5 got to wear jeans. Don't wear jeans right away. No shorts, no t-shirts. Business casual will start, and if they get to the point where you can wear jeans or something else, again, that's up to teacher to teach. That's up to the different schools, right? But start business casual and roll. In terms of piercings, in terms of hair color, in terms of tattoos, it's not as bad as it used to be. I know a lot of stuff is well, if I have a tattoo, I can't teach it, right? As long as it's not a giant weed leaf or something that's not cool that kids can see. It's more acceptable now to have your piercings out, to have hair color, that's okay, all right? So don't worry about that. If something pops up, if you have a teacher or some issue with it, talk with us about it. But that shouldn't be an issue this semester, okay? You even had someone in a kilt last semester, didn't you?
But that was a few semesters.
So yeah, but we've had a student go out in a kilt one day, so that's cool. Back to the on-time thing. I can't, honest to goodness, stress this enough. All right, please be on time when you show up. The next button is. Remember when I said that whole reasonable judgment thing? You're adults. You're going to make decisions. All right. But for the love of goodness, please, 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 when you drive to the school, don't have anything in your car that you're not okay with, all right? Don't have alcohol in the car, even if you're 21. Think about where you're driving to. Please don't have drugs in the car. We had a phone call, it was a year ago, about a drug dog hitting on one of the cars of our student teacher that went out there, and that became an entire thing, all right? If you're gonna do stuff, be intelligent about it, okay? Please be intelligent. And obviously, no weapons, no firearms, that's a legal thing, can't have that on any sort of school ground in the state of Indiana. Please be intelligent with this stuff, all right? Then finally, social media. This goes a couple different ways. The way that I was taught and the way that I've gone cool with is I have a professional, like Twitter and Facebook. I have a personal Twitter and Facebook. But the story I like to tell, I had a couple teachers when I was still at IUPUI, when I was coaching them, who gave out their personal Instagrams to a bunch of 14 and 15-year-old boys. And the next day they came back and said, yeah, we had about 18 DMs between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m.
No.
Yeah, don't do that. Those things got nuked faster than they could hit the delete button, okay? Be responsible, be intelligent. Do you want to have kids have contact with you? Yeah, maybe give them an email address, all right? But that's a hard line for me in terms of social media. Some people will tell you differently, but again, for exercising professional judgment here and intelligent decision making, I wouldn't do that. That's just me. Facebook has privacy mode, do it right now. Twitter, you can remove any detail that gets to you, do that now, all right? That's just me, okay? Any other comments from?
Yeah, I would agree with everything you just said.
You really
That's not
made
just
me
you.
bad cop. Yeah, cool.
You ready?
Yep, ready. Next, okay, cool. So this is the good stuff, all right? I told you to go out there and teach. Obviously, there's a ton of positive things that come out of that, right? Not only being prepared for your student teaching, but future job opportunities too, right? Not only that, you are helping these teachers more than you think of, right? We are minimizing again, you're reducing the one-to-one ratio of kids and teachers in the classroom. You realize how much extra stuff you can do if you have a second person in your class once a day? You can do so many more cool activities, break stuff up into small groups. You are impacting the learning and the success of these kids just by being there, right? And your host teachers will understand that, take note of that, and hopefully adjust accordingly, okay? Is everything you go see in the field you agree with philosophically? Maybe not. You may be with a teacher that uses some older school methods that you're not totally 100% with, but you get to see it in action. So don't judge it right away, right? We're going to debrief about these things. We're going to talk about what you see in the field. You say, cool, like, hey, I had a teacher who had grave rows. They did this sort of guided reading activity I didn't really like. It's not my thing, but you know what? Like, I got to see it happen. And you can adjust and work with that, right? I tell everyone that has me, good teaching is theft, right? Steal all the good stuff, put it in your own toolbox, and use it again and again and again. So steal that stuff you see in the field that you liked. Look at the stuff you maybe not like, but put it in your toolbox, right? Because one day down the road, you'll be like, hey, I remember this one thing we did. It's a cool idea. We'll roll with it, okay? Be a sponge out there. Soak everything up.
A little bit quicker.
A little bit quicker. Cool. We'll go bullets. Boom. All right. Hey, do stuff.